Hi, welcome to Ketobiography. I'm your host, Robyn Dobbins. My guest today is a repeat guest from our original days at Less of Me Success Stories. She was originally on in August of 2024, so you can look that up. It's episode 15. It still lives under Ketobiography, but it was at the time Less of Me Success Stories. Usually, I spend a good long time writing out a beautiful introduction. But today, I was like, I have so much to catch up on with Christy that I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. So please welcome our guest, Christy Kriese. Hello, Christy.
Hello. I love that we have matching rhyming names too. Robyn Dobbins, Christy Kriese.
Yeah, I know. We make it fun around here. That's a good
we
thing.
do. Yes, we do.
So I actually took the time to re-listen to, and it's funny because this morning you asked me for a copy, like how to find it, and I sent it to you because I was already listening to it, and
that's funny.
I was like, gosh, this was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and we haven't caught up again, and so much it has happened in your life that we definitely need to catch up. I do want to start, since those early episodes they weren't they didn't get a lot of listens, so I do want to start from the beginning a little bit. You don't have to go in as much detail because that episode is out there if you guys want to hear more. She goes into deep detail about her story, but hit the highlights for us and get us started on how you got into this space, and where you started from, and kind of your transition. And then let's go excitedly into all the new things that have happened in the past 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't believe it's been August 2024. That is crazy.
It was August 1st, 2024.
Wow. So yeah, we're really coming up on 2 years. Mm-hmm. So just a little background as far as mental health wise. And like you said, the episode's out there, but a little debrief. I grew up in a very, very bad childhood. Lots of mental health runs in my family. I can remember being probably 6 or 7, thinking about planning my funeral because I was sure I was going to die. Lots of anxiety. Just I lived in fear from no one ever took care of me, from all the abuse and all of that stuff. Fast forward to my teenage years is when I had my first episode of depression. It came on, and every time it's come on like this. Like I felt it hit me, and I literally thought I was dying. Like my husband at the time was still in high school. I had graduated a year or 2 earlier, and I had to call the superintendent's office and ask to send him home. So he came home, took me to the emergency room. They couldn't tell me what was wrong. They did say it was anxiety, but I had no idea what that meant.
I'm going to break in for a second because you made it sound like he was your husband at the time.
No, he was my boyfriend. Yes, he was my boyfriend. We lived together because I had aged out of the foster care system, had nowhere to go. His mom let me come stay there. The rest is history.
That's all in the first episode. Continue.
Yes. Anyway, they told me it was anxiety. I didn't know what that was. That lasted probably 4 or 5 weeks. Got better. And then I would have an episode about every 8 to 10 years. So from like 1994 until 2019, I knew that an episode was coming. It lasted about 4 weeks. Never got easier, never got less scary, but I knew what to expect. Fast forward to I got COVID in 2022. So it was New Year's Eve, 2021, going into 2022. Never felt sick, nothing like that. Instant depression fell on me. I felt it hit me. I had already tested positive just because it was running through my house, but I never got sick. And after that, I was never the same. That episode lasted 3 or 4 weeks, and then I was fine. June of that year, which was 2022, I felt it come on again. That lasted 3 months. So it was the longest episode I'd ever had. I was sure I was going to die, not come out of it. Actually went on, and I don't think we talked about this last time, actually went on an antipsychotic at that point in time because I was so fearful and so low that I thought if I don't change something, I'm not ever going to get out of this. Up until that point, I'd only been on Zoloft my whole life, which did help me for a long, long, long time. Took Abilify. 3 days later, I was back to me as I thought I was. That was October 2022. So my grandkids and my daughter and son-in-law moved in with us over that winter. And I noticed not only did I gain 40 pounds in like 3 months from the Abilify, I was okay with gaining 40 pounds because I thought if mentally I feel okay, I'll figure this out. You know what I mean? But then I started noticing and tracking that I had a lot of anxious days, more of not anxiety and panic attacks that I'd had in the past or pits where I couldn't get out of bed, but very hyper vigilant. Well, I would notice every thought that I forgot, or what if kind of some OCD tendencies, like did I lock the door? Did I do whatever? April 2023, I read a post on Twitter of somebody talking about a psychiatrist that had wrote a book about brain energy. So I was like, oh, I'm going to order that. Ordered it, read it, was very disappointed that he didn't give me a step-by-step guide at the end of what I was supposed to do and how all this made sense, because the book is so great and so intrigued. And I kept thinking the last chapter is going to tell me what to do. The last chapter is going to tell me what to do. But now I realize that's the best thing he didn't do. But at that point, you know, so I had that in my back pocket, didn't really think too much about it because I'd already been keto for probably 10 years just because of endometriosis, PCOS, hyperthyroidism. So I had all the autoimmune issues. I just would never take medication for those things. And keto did help that, but it never helped mental health wise. So fast forward to, August 2023, I went into my doctor and said, I don't think my medicine's working anymore. I am in a constant state of, I have more days of where I'm worried than when I'm not. And that's not me. I'm very happy. I'm very high energy. And she's like, yeah, I mean, you've been on this medicine for 22 years at this point. Let's taper off very slowly. And I was like, okay. Well, her very slowly was 4 weeks. And at this time, I was on 200 milligrams of Zoloft, 2 milligrams of Abilify, and as needed Ativan for anxiety. So I immediately came off the Abilify, not knowing that it could have caused really, really bad withdrawal. And I'm not sure if it did or if it was just the collapse of stopping all meds. So the withdrawal for 4 weeks actually went very well. I was surprised of how well it went. The last day of the meds that I came off, I was fine. The next day I took the new medicine, which it was Trentrelix, I think. Very, very low dose. So I did the genetic testing to tell me what medicines are supposed to work with me and what are not supposed to. The medicines that had worked for me for 22 years said they were in my red zone. So I'm not sure how it did anything, but that's neither here nor there. But I took that medicine and it was pure hell from that day on. Immediately within 2 hours of taking it, I went to bed and I get these very weird sleep paralysis when I'm not well, where I can see things with my eyes closed, like it's like a sleep paralysis or something, like you're almost dreaming immediately. Anxious, high heart rate. I throw up all day long. So it was just instantly like that. And then I don't know if you want me to go into the whole psychiatrist that I contacted and all the meds he tried to put me on in a 4-week time frame or not. I can't remember if we talked about that. But anyway,
you can talk about whatever you want.
Okay, so, and Drew will probably bring this up when you talk to him on my birthday Friday. We decided that I was so bad that I was like, I'm going to call a psychiatrist. Never had gone to a psychiatrist. I've always done my general practitioner because it had a rhythm. Every 8 to 10 years, that was just, I can handle it, blah, blah, blah. So I called this guy. He calls me back. He was like $400 an hour, I think. I mean, it was crazy. We did not care. Drew was like, if it gets you better, so I talked to him. He was great. He was a Christian, did all this. Come to find out, after my 4 weeks, I figured out he thinks everybody's bipolar Still a great doctor. He has helped a lot of people, but he was like, okay, we're going to do this since we've already, no one ever talked to me about what could be going on because I'm off of these medications. Which when I look back, I'm like, all of this could have been withdrawal or like, because it was crazier than anything I've ever been through. Like one day I woke up and I told you, I'm like, you need to take me to the mental hospital. And that had always been my biggest fear when I got an episode was I'm afraid they're going to lock me away from my kids. And he was like, babe, what is going on? You have never said that. I was like, something is wrong. But anyway, he put me on gabapentin, which again, I am not a medicine person. I am not totally anti-medicine, but close. I'm still on Zoloft. I'm on the lowest dose I've ever been, and I've been tapering. And it will be 3 years in November. I have been totally off the Ativan, totally off the Abilify, and I've just been like micro tapering the Zoloft. I think I'd be fine if I came off, but I'm not willing to risk it. I think I'm at like 50 milligrams now, and I was at 300. So they had me on a very, very high dose. But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you were just talking about
yeah.
all the
So
medicines that he put you on.
So he tried me on gabapentin, and I will say for the first 4 or 5 days, I felt amazing. I'd never been on a mood stabilizer. But then after that, it was crashed back down. And then he would raise it and lower it, raise it and lower it. And then he was like, oh, I think you need to go back on your Zoloft. You might be one of the 3% of people that benefit from it. Okay. I mean, when you're so low, it's almost like you will do whatever anybody tells you to do. Did that, felt better for like 2 days. And then I was literally in my bed for 3 months. And that's when I met you. But he did try me on another thing. And I actually messaged him this week because I wanted to know what it was to tell you. And it was Oscar Carbonine or something. And come to find out, it was an epilepsy drug. And that made me psychotic. I took 1 pill and called the next day and I was like, there is something wrong with my brain. I can't even remember what my phone number is. And I don't like that. Like I don't drink alcohol because I don't want to not be aware of everything. He's like, okay, well, let's take that off and we're going to try this. And it was, he told me yesterday what it was. It was something salts, some D word salts. And I was like, I'm not taking any more medication. So I hung up. At this point, we had paid this man $2,600 for 1 month. 1 month. That's how desperate we were. And my husband's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do, So I went back to my doctor and I said, I think I just want to go back and see what happens going back on my old, just antidepressant. So, but during that process is when I started seeing more about the carnivore stuff. And I look back because when I'm in episodes, I keep daily detailed notes. So I have notes that I can go back and see everything. I was looking the other day of when I started eating, what I was eating. I went back and looked at like mine and your notes. And I can't even for the life of me realize how we met. I just know that we did. And you were such a support, you and Valerie. And really from day one, I remember I left the house for the first time in 3 months. And obviously it wasn't the food because I'd only had half a brat. Like I lived off a half of a bratwurst for months. And I can remember you telling me like, you have got to eat more. And me saying, Robyn, I throw up all day, every day. And you were like, I've never heard of that before. And I was like, yeah, neither has the doctors. But it has been a whirlwind since. And I can't wait to talk about since then.
Yeah, let's talk about since then. So I do want to just acknowledge, though, that it is an under talked about topic of this kind of weaning off and titrating off the medications, the timeline, the deprescribing. And what also isn't talked about is how often that happens in treatment. If you're going to a psychiatrist, you're often being put on and taken off, and like that's my story, right? Like I was never on anything consistently,
and it wasn't a short thing. Like it was only 4 weeks, and he had me on 4 different things, and it wasn't like let's take a few days. It was like, well, just stop that and take this. And I was like, I had all these medications. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, or yeah, and because it's not talked about enough, I don't think they know to look at this is a symptom of being deprescribed too quickly and then
Yes.
jumping straight to, oh, you know what, we were wrong, you're bipolar. Like they just give another
Yes.
diagnosis instead of looking at that. I know
Yeah.
that's coming up a lot more in conversation, but I'm
Yes.
glad that you brought it up because a lot of people don't realize that that is a possibility, and that's why you really want to be careful when you're backing
Yeah.
off
And
these
luckily I'm
medications.
pretty vocal. So I was like, I'm not bipolar. Like I can tell you this is cyclical. I I keep track. It's been my whole life, but something happened with COVID. And whenever I switched back to my other doctor, she had me call this other psychiatrist, and I called him, and he was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I'm going to put you down because COVID has ruined our brains." And he was like, "Let's just get you back to base and we'll go from there." And at that point, it sounded amazing. And he's kind of like, I talk to him maybe 15 minutes a year, and he knows what I'm doing, and he knows he's not going to talk me out of it. But he will call and say, "Okay, so what's been going on?" Oh, okay, and so
Yeah,
we'll see.
unfortunately,
But yeah,
probably not writing it down and using it for everybody else that he treats, but
yeah,
at least
probably
there's
not.
an acknowledgement. Yeah, I know
Yes,
it's so hard to break the bubble, but that's why we have this conversation. So
yes,
that was the briefest of brief backgrounds.
yes,
So
because we
please
have the
listen to,
detail.
we have more details. So please listen to the prior episode. That's it's on the podcast apps. It's on YouTube. It's there. You guys can find it.
Yes.
So let's talk about what has happened since then. Because from my perspective, I met this girl who was down, right? Like your handle was Little Miss Depressive Episode. I mean, you
Yes,
were
I had
certainly
made a
down.
burner account on Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you never left the house. You barely left your bed. You were
Nope.
sick all the time. You weren't eating. I mean, you were really deep in this at the
Yes.
time we met. To now, we get to work together
Yes,
all
we
the
do.
time.
Yep.
And we get to talk to each other all the time. And there's always a smile and a joy and all of this stuff. Like you are certainly embodying what is possible using metabolic therapies
Yes.
to manage symptoms. So
Yes.
what is it that you're doing? What are the things that you enjoy? How are you helping people? There's just so many things. Take it in whichever direction you feel.
Okay, well,
You're led.
first, I want to put this out here because it would have been amazing for more people to tell me this. And you are the only one who told me this, because I would say, I'm just afraid this isn't going to work for me. Like, I was afraid to get the hope that something might work. And I remember you saying, I promise you, you're not going to be the first person that this doesn't help. Like, something is going to improve. And you would say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not doing whatever, but I can promise you and tell you what's happened to me and all these other people. And I remember a follow-up where I text you and or message you or whatever. And I was like, hey, it's just a rough day. I know this, like I literally know this, but I need a reminder. And you were like, and so everybody that I work with and talk with, I'm like, I can promise you something's going to happen. You're not going to be the first person in America that doesn't see any change, because the Mayo Clinic uses this for epilepsy. Okay. The Harvard Medical and McLean Clinic are studying this. So there's something to it other than, us, but you also can't discredit everybody's lived experience, and I think that's what's been so fun for me, because my love language is acts of service, and my calling from Jesus is giving. Like I love to help, I love to give. It's what makes me happy. So, before I even got into the carnivore, which is what I'm doing, strict carnivore, and I have to be very strict because I am very sensitive to everything. My symptoms will return within 12 hours if I cheat or go off. I should have had a list of everything that I've healed from. That would have been amazing. But I will more
Well,
than
that'll be for
likely.
next time.
Okay.
You know what I'll do? I
Yeah.
will allow you to compile that list and share it with Casey when you're on Boundless Body Radio.
Oh, there we go.
I'll allow it.
Look at you giving him some props. Casey, you hear that?
He's
But
my only fan, so
he's your
I
only
gotta
fan.
shout it out.
98% of the time, if I eat something, even unwillingly, like a seed oil, I will have a migraine, which I don't have anymore, but it will be within 12 hours. And I have found now that they will wake me up in my sleep. And I will wake up confused, numb, not being able to see, not being able to remember stuff. And it will take me like 30 seconds to be like, oh, you're having a migraine, and I still do have rescue medicine, but it works a lot quicker now with Carnivore. Like before, I would have migraines that would last days, and then the post recovery would be like a week. They're gone and done in an hour. But that again is only if I cheat. So, for example, on Thanksgiving, my family, who has almost all joined me on Carnivore, can cheat. None of them have extreme mental health issues that they're affecting. They're doing it to be skinnier or whatever. Like, just cheat. And I was like, guys, I'm telling you, something's going to happen. And we're almost 3 years into this. So I had, and I mean a cheat. I had some mashed potatoes, some like au gratin potatoes, and a piece of pumpkin pie, like small portion, one little paper plate, didn't even eat it all. And that night was not fun. And I was like, see, guys, when you encourage me, and I knew it was coming. So it's not like, they bullied me into it or whatever. And I was like, I'm telling you, I can't do that. Some people, most people probably can. I know I've heard Matt Bazuki talk about he can do here and there. I just can't. And that's okay, because feeling better is worth never having a drop of chocolate again in my life. Like I don't even have those cravings. But anyway, so November 13th, 2023 was the day that I officially wrote in my handy dandy calendar that I started Carnivore. And by that point, I had been in my bed since August of that year. I could still go and take my kids to school if I needed to, stuff that like I knew something wasn't going to happen. Like they wouldn't get there if I didn't take them. Like I would take them bawling. I would bring a trash can with me to throw up in, which is very rare. Most people don't get that with the depression, but I would literally throw up all day, every day. And 1 month I tracked, I think I had like 7,600 calories for the entire month. So Drew would be like, what are you throwing up? I'm like, I have no idea, but it comes. So that was November. And like I said, the first day I left the house with my oldest son, we went to the phone store, got him a new phone. He was like, wow, you haven't left the house in a while. And I wouldn't leave just because of the depression, but it would be like a fear. I couldn't drive. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't take noises in. It was just like a complete overwhelm. And then since then, like everybody has jumped on board. I want to say actually, I do know this. By day 8, my sleep was improving. So, and that's why I'm so glad I kept track of everything. So I would have nocturnal panic attacks. I would have nightmares. I would wake up with my heart rate at like 180 on my watch. I would wake up throwing up. All of that like stuff I couldn't do on my own because it was a thought process, so physical stuff that I could notice. So I started not waking up with the high heart rate, and I could wake up and fall back asleep. Whereas before, if I woke up and I fell back asleep, I would have that hallucinogenic state. And then day 8, I think I slept all night with no night terrors, no panic attacks, no nightmares. So that was the first thing I seen, which is ironic to me because most people say that's the last thing. From what I've seen is the sleep is the last. And that was the first thing for me. And then it's just like, and I tell people this, I still feel better every single day, 890 days later. Like I just feel well all the time. And then January of 2024 was World Carnivore Month, which it is every January. But my husband and my youngest son, who was 16 at the time, decided that they were going to try it and see what happened. And both of their lives have completely changed. My son is now 18 and looks like a completely different person. Like he is a muscle-bound cutie. And he has struggled with weight from probably 12 years old on, where he always active, always doing whatever. But I was thinking the other day, like, he has just been so much happier. And not that he wasn't happy, he just wasn't pleasant all the time. Like, there was no stress in his life, no reason for him to have an attitude, but he kind of would sometimes. And that's just not there anymore. And then my husband started and lost weight. Of course, he wasn't big to begin with, but lost weight. And then, he was like, oh, this doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. And then he has a degenerative eye disease, which I know he's going to talk to you about. But we have seen that healing over the last 2 years. So he used to have to get injections every 6 weeks. It started in 2020. So we're talking a long-term thing. So for every 6 weeks, he would get injections in both eyes. And then I guess about 6 months in, he went and they were like, oh, you don't need an injection this time. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he got it the next time. And it's just kind of been more spaced out and more spaced out. But I went with him last week, and it will be 15 months before he has to go back again. And his vision has improved. His degenerative disease, which is uncurable on paper, the doctor wrote down, has improved. He also had 2 other things. I can't remember them. I'll have them ready for you though.
Yeah, he'll tell me.
Yeah, I don't know if you can pronounce them, but one was like a detached retina, and then another something major. So that's been huge because he would pass out. Their needles are like this long where they would put into his eye.
I can't even.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I can't even
it has been great. And it's funny because people notice stuff before we do sometimes. And like, he was like, oh, I don't need shots. And none of us even thought 2 seconds about it. And then I was like, wait, Michaela Peterson had an eye issue and it got better with Carnivore. So let's pay attention to this, My son-in-law has jumped in on Carney. He's been about 1.5 years. He's lost over 100 pounds. Wow. My daughter has done it. She's very off and on, but she lost about 50 pounds. But Monday, her and both my grandkids are now on keto, which wow. I'm very, very excited about. Very excited about that. But my biggest win, and I know I've talked to you about this before, but it's finally happened, is my brother-in-law, who has had pandas his whole childhood, moved into undiagnosed. He doesn't really go to the doctor, but many suicides attempt. He has drank Drano. He has took hundreds of pills. He has tried to jump out a window. He started Carnivore. It will be 6 weeks ago. And he texted me this week and said he is 110% better. He's never felt this good, and he feels like he's on cocaine. I said, I don't know what being on cocaine feels like, but I'll take that as a win.
Yeah, I couldn't do that either. But yeah,
lots of stuff.
It's so much stuff, and that's what's been so exciting, is to not only watch you improve, but to see all of your loved ones jumping on as well. And this is a question that comes up, or actually maybe more of a statement that comes up all the time. Well, I found this, but I'm alone. I can't make this sustainable because nobody around me will do it. Or I people look at me weird. All of that comes up quite frequently. And yet here's Christy just chugging along, doing her thing. And then everyone in her family seems to do it too. So did you approach your family members and say, you've got to do this? Or were you just a shining example and people decided they wanted to try?
Well, for my
something husband, in between is
for my husband, it was the dramatic change. Because, we've been together 32 years. So he's been with me every episode. He knows and has seen every, whatever. And he's seen such a change. And everybody will say, I posted a picture the other day of me in depression and me now. My eyes go dead. There is literally no life in my eyes. And that is not me on a normal basis. So I can't wait to hear what he says to you. I'm thinking he's probably going to cry. But Like for him, he was so scared this last time, but never said anything. Like one day he took off work and he doesn't take off work. And even when I'm bad, I'm like, go to work. You being here has zero like effect on me. Not being rude, but it's not going to make me better. Like I know I'm going to be okay. You know, like you get to that point, but he stayed home
We'll
because
definitely talk about that feeling. Like I'm sure he
yeah,
feels like his hands are tied. He doesn't know what
yes.
to do.
And he
So
was like, he would tell our kids, like, see, like I've worked so hard to be in the position that I am now, because you know he's in a good position at his work. He's like, no amount of money in the world would I ever take if it meant my wife had to live like this. You know, he's like, I would give all my money away or whatever. So, and you know, there was one day where I made him sit by my bed the whole day. And that is not me. Like, I am not needy. When it would be 4 weeks, he would kind of like it because I would be needy and clingy and touchy. When I'm independent, have zero fear, you know, whatever. So sometimes he's like, it's kind of nice you get in these 4 week funks every 10 years, you know? But when it got into months and months and I was fearful because, and even in the months and months, I want to say this, and it's such a weird feeling because I was in the pit of hell, but I never lost joy. Like I knew, God, if this is your purpose for me, that's fine. I will live like this forever. And even in that, like I would be on social media and I would reach out to my friends who were struggling and be like, hey, if you need me. And my husband's like, you have to take care of you. I'm like, no, this is taking care of me. Like, and I've helped people like while I'm in my bed wondering if I'm going to end up in a mental home, you know, but that's what helped heal me. So no, I think with that, and then my son, he just wanted to lose weight. And he was like, I think my husband, the first 30 days, they did like a challenge. So in 2021, my husband did a like, let's do a month where we each pick 5 things that we're not going to eat. And it was like nuggets, pizza, you know, the crap that everybody consumes. And he was 14 at that time, 14 or 15. So he did that for 30 days and lost a couple pounds and, you know, did whatever. So when the carnivore month came around, Drew was like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, awesome. You know, look up Sean Baker. We ordered the carnivore book, blah, blah, blah. And then my son was like, yeah. And he was like, at the end of the month, you know, there'll be a prize of $100 or whatever. And my kid's like, I don't need the $100 if it helps me lose weight. That's huge. And then my son kind of he did carny for like 6 months and he's been kind of ketovore is what he calls it. So but I mean, he's 18. He can lose weight like that
yeah,
now.
you can
Like
get away with it a little more.
he's
Yeah.
lean. I'm like, okay, you're in a size 30 now. That's crazy. But and then my son-in-law came out of the military in 2022, 140, 120 pounds heavier than when he went in. And when he came out of boot camp, probably 200 pounds over. I think he said he was 340 or 350.
Gracious.
So he came out 85% disabled from the Air Force. You know, when you're in and you have those issues, they accommodate you where you don't have to live up to these standards, which was not a good thing on his part because they'd be like, oh, you don't have to do PT. You don't have to do whatever. And they lived in Idaho. So there was nobody close to him. I would fly out probably 4 or 5 times a year and I would fly Lexi in 4 or 5 times a year, but he couldn't get away. So these two 18-year-olds went away, you know, like weeks after graduating and were there for 6 years. So I think food was just kind of how he got through stress and, you know, life changes and not seeing family.
And our
So,
military is not known for serving the best meals.
oh,
They're
and they
100% have to follow the SAD
And they
guidelines.
were broke. Like the military paid him nothing. He makes so much now being out of the military. Like they pay him, I think it's triple what he made when he was in. It's
It's
sickening.
sad.
But
It's sad.
he did it literally just to lose weight and lost joint pain and, you know, whatever. And my daughter, when she does it, like she will say, and she has like ADHD, which we didn't learn till she figured it out a couple years ago. Totally makes sense now because she's not hyper, but she can't stick to stuff for a long time, and that's okay. Like she doesn't have a reward center is what I tell her. Like just feeling better to me keeps me going. For her, she's like, you know. But she's like, it's just aggravating knowing that I have to eat like this forever. You know, but
I
she's
mean,
like,
well, that's a very true statement. There's
yeah.
so many people. I mean, I'm going to say I've felt that way before.
Mhm.
And that'll take me back to your comment about having your little portions
Mm-hmm.
at Thanksgiving is that
Mm-hmm.
I almost think it's a blessing sometimes that we get
Mm-hmm.
this feedback. I mean, it's a strange thing to be like, I have bipolar disorder, I have depression, and be like, but thankfully, it gives me
Mm-hmm.
feedback because I think it's so much harder for people
Mm-hmm.
who don't have that feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see her struggling with that, and I think that's
Yes.
totally normal. Something
Yeah.
will
And
click
that's
at
what,
some point down the line, I
yes.
think.
And that's what,
Mm.
like, she's getting to. So her kids are 7 and getting ready to be 6. And the 7-year-old he likes his chubby, he says. His sister is small and eats 4 times what he does. So it's not a food intake issue. But she's thinking about sending them to public school. And she's like, I think I'm going to try, carnivore. And I was like, let's start with keto. So they have
Mhm.
lots of options. And even keto with just whole foods where, like, let's not like just kill the kids, And the 7-year-old goes, I'm never going to have sugar again. And she was like, well, maybe once a month or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay. And he has been totally fine. Like, mind you, it's day 3. But the 5-year-old, soon to be 6, is the one who's having struggles. And we're like, never would have thought that. Like, she was crying in the store for a brownie yesterday.
Oh,
And
wow.
Jameson's just like, oh, yeah, I'll eat those grapes and the strawberries and the chicken and cheese sandwich. Like
It'll
they
just
found it.
be a process of finding the thing that works well, like
Yeah.
to kind of
And I've
appease that.
tried to tell my daughter because she gets overwhelmed by I have to cook dinner every night for like everything's finite in her brain. And
Mm.
she'll be like, don't you get overwhelmed? I'm like, never. Like my brain doesn't think like that. Like to me, carnivore and keto is so simple because you have these food options that you're going to eat. And that's what you get to pick every day for the rest of your life. You don't have to pick from 752 cuisines. Like I know I'm going to have hamburger, steak, or whatever. And to me, I'm like, it's so freeing. I eat more now than I've ever eaten in my entire life, calorie wise, you
I
know?
agree with you.
Yeah.
Simple and freeing. I agree
Yes.
with both those things. I actually want to talk more about this. You've always been just like naturally tracking things.
Yes.
So in your life, you kept journals, you wrote everything down. And when you
Hmm.
were severely depressed, you were still kind of tracking all of that. Is
Hyper
just your
tracking.
natural hyper? So, do you still track now that
No,
it's so simple?
it's only, and I've never really tracked food. I'm very aware of what my mental blocks are. And if I have to track and like I'm still very anti-scale because I carry a lot of muscle, still a lot of chub. But if I see that, I know what it does to my brain, so I don't do it. If I have to track macros, it's like I don't want to do it. Like it just makes it not fun. I have a very good memory, so I remember stuff. But when I'm depressed, I've always kept very detailed notes, and it's really served me well because I can go back and see patterns. And like now, the other day, I was like thinking, should I send her a picture of something? Because last time, like you said, you researched, you did pictures, and I found, let's see if I have it right here. I think I deleted it, but I found a picture of one of my journal entries, and it was just something that, oh, here we go. So this was October 4th, 2023. So right before I met you. And I said, been in tears, just tired of being here, and so filled with emotions of how much I love my family and what we have fought so hard to build. And I don't understand why I have to fight depression after everything else I've fought. I've cried all day off and on. And that like just hit me because it takes me right back to the pit of that. Um, like it was literally, I was so hopeless, yet I still had the sliver of hope that, it was going to get better and that I was never going to stop trying to find something better. And that's what I like try to tell when I got my brother-in-law. Like I've been like, you've been watching me. I mean, I've known him since before he was born. Like it's my husband's brother, but I've been around since before he was born, and I was like, you have literally seen my life change, you know, why won't you do this? And he always said, it's just so hard. It's so much work. Like, I don't want to eat cold meat. When I want lunch, I want a hot meat. It's just easy. That's just so hard. And I said, Grant, you know what's hard? Worrying about if the thought in your head is real or hallucination or an intrusive thought. That's hard. waking up at nighttime, wondering if you killed somebody or if you've tried to kill yourself because you can't separate reality from your dreams, that's hard. This is not hard. And I'm like, I try not to be heartless about it, but like, there's two hards. Like, once your body gets used to this, I have zero cravings for anything ever, you know? And it's just, it becomes like a finely tuned, that's what you do thing, you know? Like
Yeah, I
showering,
think that,
brushing your teeth.
yeah, you and I think are very pragmatic with that. It's
Yes.
like it works. Let's not mess with it.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
can't
have any
tell you
questions. We're just going to
why.
push forward. Yeah.
Yep. That's what it's like. Well, medically, I'm like, medically, I can't tell you anything, but I can give you 700 resources where you can find why this does that. Like, I don't know. I just know I've tried it. It's worked. Every single person that has tried it with me has helped. You know, I'm sure like Dr. Chris Palmer says, there's going to be somebody that doesn't see the same thing, but then you know, I've like Michaela Peterson said, had to go lion diet and totally healed her. Keto didn't work for me. And that might have been because it was dirty keto, because I can remember like having keto protein shakes and stuff, which was because back then it was all about the net carbs, not really ingredients. I just knew carbs affected me, had no idea mentally, but physically I knew that it, you know, whatever. But you know, she was like, you think I want to just eat meat and salt? No, but I want to live my life the best I can. And that's just my simple message to people, you know, is like, try it. You literally have everything to lose. You have every
Right.
symptom to lose, you know?
Yeah. You're at this point in your life where you're wondering why you exist.
Yeah.
It's not, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Like for me, your LDL level is going to go up and it's going to
Yep.
take you out, you know, like, well, yeah, but on the way out, I got to revive the relationships with my family. I got to do fun
Yep.
things. I got to find joy in things every single day. Like, yeah, that was worth it. I'll take that every day.
I told somebody that the other day because I don't get blood work done, so I have no idea what my numbers are. But I said if mine came back that it was 1,000, which I don't even know if that's a possible number, so that's how unrealistic it is. I would still say, okay, if I die in 3 weeks, this is well worth it. I'm still going to eat how I'm you know, how I'm eating, because it's a clarity and a peace and a levelness I've never had in my whole life. Like, it's just joy. I mean, it's just joy and level. And I can remember one of our messages, which I'm not sure if I shared this with you, but I have a photographic memory, so I can literally see stuff in my brain. And I can remember you saying very early on, even then when you were telling me like, why don't you make an egg drop soup? And I was like, gross, love it. You're saying, I can't wait to watch you heal, and something along the lines of all the people you're going to help or something. And I was like, this lady is nuts, you know? And then sure enough, now we're working together, helping people find this.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
let's talk about that. Let's talk about your transition from just telling your story in real time of your healing to moving that to your passion, which, you know, I know that you're a woman of great faith and
Yep.
you feel very led to do things. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
serves you and the people you help very well.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been led to help people. I would like to know what things you do to help people. And then also, we share that we work with the Metabolic Collective. So you're welcome to talk about what you are doing there and then what you would like to see happen inside of that community as well. But start with your personal ventures first.
Okay, so personally, a lot of one-on-ones with people. I share very openly, and I always have since I've had social media, the good, the bad, the ugly of my life. I'm an open book, regardless of how it looks to other people or how it makes me look. So a lot of people will not comment on my posts per se, but I get a lot of direct messages of people. So even people I don't know, I've been able to help, because some stuff I will make public. I haven't gone all the way public yet, just because of a lot of background things, which is a whole nother episode. But anyway, so I've been able to help a lot of people. You know, one guy that I've helped has been like, didn't want anybody to know for like a year. I don't know if it was fear of failure or whatever, but he's now agreed to come do your podcast. So that'd be
Woohoo! Yay!
surprising. But he's lost like 115 pounds and has healed all this stuff. So I do a lot of one-on-one stuff. And I know me and you've talked about this, like it's what I want to do. So I never want to make it like a job or whatever. So, and I'm always telling people they can text me whenever, middle of the night, whatever. I'm very good at crisis management, like talking people off walls that, my first person that I helped, and I know you know this, but I don't think we've ever talked about it, was a young girl from Ireland who has now become like my daughter. She calls me mom. We met before I met you, and I truly believe it was a God thing. She was in a severe depression. I was in a severe depression, and she was a college student at the time. I guess she was 21, all alone. She had no family, very traumatic life. And the first thing that happened was she came back to Jesus, and now this is a follow-up. She's a pastor at her church.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
On the lead senior pastor team. So she's in Greece right now. Paid staff, doing great. She still, she has a lot of medical stuff. So her stuff goes up and down, and she can't really eat enough to get a lot of the benefits. COVID has destroyed her body. She has POTS and all this stuff. So she passes out all the time, but she is thriving in spite of all that. She still works. She's still changing people's life. Her husband, she got married, is now 100% carnivore, and it has changed his life. So that's my main thing. I also run a couple groups. I've kind of changed the names around. But I've kind of leaned more into our area, which is Metabolic Collective, which I don't even know how that formed, but I just know I got involved. Robyn was like, hey, come to this group. We're trying to build community of people that have help with metabolic therapies. And I was like, heck yeah, with my exclamation points, because you're always like, you're so excited about everything.
Always, yeah.
And so it's just been fun doing that. And again, I think in there, I just shared openly like I always do. And you were like, hey, do you want to come on and kind of work, not really work, but you know what I mean, work and help lead this. Yeah, volunteer and, help lead others. I was like, heck yes. And so, I'm always just up for anything that can get the word out, and get our lived experiences to other people, because, and looking back, other people had mentioned carnivore to me. I can remember my sister-in-law, who's 16 years younger than my husband, but mentioning Jordan Peterson and whatever. And again, I was just like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And even when I read about the brain energy and the psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever, how he wrote a book, I remember rolling my eyes and being like, oh yeah, I'm sure if it was that easy, no one would have depression and anxiety. But then I got to the point 6 months later, I was like, I mean, really, what is it going to hurt me? I can't get any lower. I'd be dead if I was lower,
This is an important point that ties back into not just how you eat and how you found it, but also how you've affected the family members around you, is that everyone's got to hit their point.
Yep.
When they're going to start it. So up until they hit that, it's just a wall, and then they hit it and they start dabbling.
Yep.
And which is so important to remember, because I think once we get it, once we feel it, once we're feeling better, we just want everybody to do it. We have this message that we want to share. We've got to get everybody on board. I'm saving everyone's life, but it just simply doesn't work that way. Everybody has to be ready for it in their own time. And so it takes a lot of patience to be the one that's feeling good, feeling healed, feeling good, to watch family members.
Yeah. Well, and I know we've talked about this before, is I'm really big on people are going to connect with who they're going to connect with. And that's whenever I've talked to the two people that I invited to do your podcast, I was like, listen, you are going to reach a whole different group of people that are not going to hear me speak, because I don't have anything that they've struggled with. Your dad is going to reach the people of this age that aren't going to listen to people of my age. And like, it's all about who you connect with. Like for me, I'm very aware, well, I am not for everybody. People either love me or hate me, and that's fine. I feel like that's that for everybody. You're going to connect, like me and you clicked, like that's just how it is. And that's the same thing that happened with my brother-in-law. I was like, I found a guy that I hooked him up with and said, nobody knows this guy. He's not going to tell us anything that you say. He has a way worse story than you do. Like, you're not going to scare him with what your intrusive thoughts are. I can promise you that. And it's been over since then.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's huge.
The stories that, that's my passion. That's why I do this, is that not everyone has a story, and not everybody's story is going to resonate with everyone, but and it's a really important thing to show this variety of storytelling, because your story might not hit somebody as hard, but somebody else's might be the one that needs to be heard. And so I totally get that. That's why.
And I want to do a small plug real quick for your movie. That blew me away about the cholesterol code, okay? Because, again, I know nothing about cholesterol, don't care, don't go to the doctor. And so I went into it thinking, like, it's cool, I'm going to see my friend in here. I want to get her, I can see her telling her story. But then it, like, pulls you in, because there's, like, a food addiction person, there's a bipolar person, there's a dementia person, there's a... This is how bad I am. What did Dave start it for? Was his cholesterol?
Yeah, he just noticed the pattern in his cholesterol.
And I was like, this has sucked me in, because it represented so many different things, and it was so well done. I was like, it's about cholesterol, but it's really not about cholesterol either. So I was just like, they did a great job on that.
We've talked about it before, where the title is the cholesterol code. So in fact, when I was trying to host the screening and I was telling people about it, they were like, "Oh wow, exciting! What's it called?" I'm like, "The cholesterol code." And their faces would kind of change. Like, this is going to be a weird movie about blood work and lab reports. Like, I don't know that I want to go see that. I'm like, no. It's full of really great stories.
Oh, it was so good. Yeah. I was impressed, because I didn't know what to expect, because Dave's brain does not work like mine. Like, the whole numbers, the whole testing, I'd have been like, I'll pay somebody else to figure that all out. I see it, I believe it, let's go on. So I was expecting it to be more like cut dry, I guess. And then when it was pulling all this stuff in, and like your husband and kids were in there, and then Eric was in there, and I was like, wow, this is like 5 or 6 different stories about the same thing, but totally different,
Yeah, the storytelling is incredible. It really tugs at the heartstrings and makes you understand why, even if you don't particularly care about getting your blood work done, other people do, and
very much so.
Even worse, the doctors are only going to talk about So to have it again, we go back to the storytelling about the people is. We can talk about data and numbers and lab work all we want, but at the end of the day, there's a person at the bottom that has to make a decision. And if we're not studying these things and studying a subset of healthy people, then how can we make a blanket statement that this is bad? So,
and I just know, I kind of went into it knowing my numbers when I did do blood stuff were always bad, because it was more like the thyroid issue. Like, well, your labs are fine. I was not fine. Like, I just knew how I felt. So how are you telling me that something is or isn't wrong when I feel awful or I feel amazing, but this number's telling me I shouldn't feel amazing and I'm going to croak? You know what I mean?
Do you still go and check your thyroid numbers and all of that stuff? So you just don't know, or are you basing your decisions on how you 100% how you feel?
Everything is about how I feel. We are not anti-doctor. I shared this before. We do all of our care pretty much through our chiropractor. Other than my husband gets his eye injections, but like, I wouldn't even know where to go for a primary care doctor right now. The only time I ever went to the doctor was when I was depressed. And that took them 9 years to talk me into taking medicine. They're like, you come in only every so often, about this. But they found my thyroid issue, I think, after I had Lexi, and like my hair was falling out and all the typical. And my numbers, now I realize, were always on the very low side, which 50 years ago would have been abnormal, but they changed the numbers sneakily over the years. So I took the Synthroid or whatever. I literally don't think I noticed any difference, and I just kind of like quit taking them. But I've always been like that. This
Okay,
is
you guys,
it
let me
got
just
me.
put that
It
out there. This was Christy's decision to
Yeah,
do
I
that.
I
You
am
guys
not
should
the
see a
medical
doctor.
person to ask for medicine advice, because the episode of depression that I got in 2022, I had realized that I had missed 100 doses of medicine over a 6-month time frame. So I was like, oh, you've literally caused this, because your body's either withdrawing or not getting what it needs or whatever. But all of my doctors that I have had know that about me, and they'll be like, "Did you stop taking your medicine?" Yeah, stupid, stupid, stupid. But yeah, like I just don't go get tests done if I'm not feel. And now if I don't feel good, like if I haven't been sick I had the COVID in 2021 that never gave me a symptom other than depression. Other than that, I have not been sick since then. If I start feeling like sluggish, I literally eat butter. If I can't sleep, I literally eat butter. If my mood slips, which 99.9% of the time, this is who I am all the time, high energy, happy, I will be like, oh, I probably need some fat. And that's what I do.
No, I love
So,
that, because we get into these conversations and it's like, well, I test, I count, I have to track my macros, I have to prick my
mm,
finger and get my blood ketones, and it has to be at this number, and I
mhm,
almost, a lot of time, to me, I realize it's important to other people and it
yes,
works for
yes,
them, and it's very
yes,
individual. But to me, that takes me off the edge of like,
yes.
I'm
It puts me over the edge.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
especially having a history of OC, when I'm having to
Hmm.
track stuff, and then
Hmm.
I'm I'm just obsessive about it. And then
Yep.
I'm more concerned about these numbers than I am looking at
Yep.
how I feel. Am I
Yep.
feeling differently? And I think there's a lot of value in the feeling as well.
Yeah.
And there's really like a fine line there. So I like that you talk about
Yep.
just tracking your feeling. Like, I feel good.
Yes.
Oh, I don't feel quite right. Let me have some more fat. And now I feel
Yep.
better. I
Hmm.
think it's perfectly viable, as you said before, simple.
Hmm.
You know what your choices are. I know
Yep.
how I'm feeling. I know what I can do to adjust that just with
Yep.
something that I'm eating, and to talk to you and see this joy and to see how happy you are, the life in your eyes. You guys, you have
Hmm.
to look at Christy's ex, because she's got these before and after pictures. You can see the difference on your face. But I mean, you're showing us that it doesn't have to be technical. It
Yes.
does, like, if you get to a point where you're not feeling those things, yeah, let's maybe
Yep.
bring in the technical things and test those things out. But if you're not there, you're fine. Just keep going and keep loving life.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that really quick too, because I got the Keto Mojo months ago. Because for how I eat and how I work out, physically, I should be a bodybuilding beast. And that just doesn't happen for me. I don't quit doing those things, but sometimes it can get frustrating. And then I know I've talked to you about this privately, but fasting for me just does not work. Like, I feel great on it. And my birthday trip was 2 weeks ago, and I did a 24-hour fast, felt amazing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to my 18-6. The day after we arrived at my birthday, I thought depression had fallen on me. Like,
Oh, wow.
it
No. Yeah.
overtook me. I felt it. Drew was like, what is wrong? Your face looks weird. Like all of this. And he was like, what did you do? And I was like, I've been fasting. He's like, knock it off. Eat. If you feel good, I don't care what you think that your body should be doing. Your body is doing everything it needs to do for your brain. We're not going to focus on that. And I have to bring myself back to that, because I will see people. I didn't have 150 pounds to lose to begin with. But when you're trying to compare other people, like, oh, they lost 75 pounds and they can cheat and they can do this, I'm like, I put in all this work and I'm not seeing this, but then I'm like, I feel like $1,000,000. So I have to always focus on how I'm feeling and how my mind is.
And it's
Um,
really easy to get caught into the trap of, let me try this. Now let me try
yes.
this. Now let me try
Yeah.
this. Let's go back to that conversation about being off and on all kinds of meds. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. You never know
Yep.
what good feels like, because you're always doing something different.
Yep.
Stick with what works, and
Yep.
if something changes 6 months from now, adjust. But there's no
Yep.
reason to keep trying all the things all the time.
Yep. And I was doing the fasting because I did lose weight on that, you know. And my husband's like, first, you don't need to lose weight. I was like, but I'd like to lose, just a couple pounds. And that does happen. And again, I know fasting works, and I know it's a great metabolic and brain. And like, I understand and want all the benefits, but I just know for me mentally, but it's the same way with medicines. Like, I can't even take children's Benadryl. Like, stuff just affects me very bad, regardless of what it is. So for me, and when I'm sharing with people, I have to say, for me, everything's going to sound extreme because I'm hypersensitive to everything that goes into my body.
Well, I think it sounds like some sensible. You're listening to yourself. And I think that, maybe you're just on the slow, longer road, but that's okay. Because you feel good.
I feel great.
And weight loss was not the goal. Feeling good was the goal.
Well, and I did lose weight. Obviously, you can see the before and after.
I know you have.
But still, I'm like, I should have this much muscle by now.
Yeah, we can all hope, but that is stuff that is not as
not important.
Predictable. Yeah. So, well, before we get abruptly cut off by the batteries dying on our respective devices, I just want to thank you for coming back on and filling us in. And just all the amazing work that you're doing behind the scenes in your personal life with your friends, your family, people who've reached out to you. It's been so wonderful to just watch this blossom and develop and grow into who you are. Like, you're finally being who you thought you could be. And it's so fun to see that happen.
Yes.
So where can people find you?
I knew you were. I was just like, I better have my handles on here. I don't know.
At X, it's Me Loving Jesus.
Yeah, could be. Yep, Me Loving Jesus. Or my name on there is Carnivore Christy, which again, that was my burner account. That was Little Miss Depressive episode because I had to have a burner so people didn't know. And then let's see, Facebook is Christy Kriese. And that's pretty much what I use. Yep, that's pretty much what I use. Facebook used to be my main thing, but I've really been picking up on X a lot. Twitter.
Whatever.
I'm not the Xer.
So, well, thank you so much for everything that you do. And it's been a pleasure to kind of walk next to you while you're doing that. And now I'm just super excited to get to work with you on fun, exciting projects that have nothing to do about what we're eating, but how we can help other people, because we're both very passionate about that. And thanks for hooking me up with some great guests to hear in the future.
I'm excited.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to hear from them because, some of them, like I said, was very secretive. And I was like, okay, that's all on you,
thing. I mean, I get it. There's people that need to protect their privacy, and I totally understand that. But happy to, when they're ready to talk, I'm happy to be here to listen.
Yes, and I'm happy you're there because I don't want to do it.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, to listening to our Ketobiography. Bye.
See ya.